Hold on, I'm going to measure this room. I said in one of my recent videos that this room was 10 by 15. And I wanted to be accurate. 13 and a half. I thought it was 15. Okay. I could use 2 more feet for sure. This thing is not behaving. Stop. Stop it. Just leave. Why can't they make a tape measure that's not a pain? Honestly. I mean, it's one thing if you have a partner that can hold the other end. You know? Be still. It's 10 by 13 and a half. Well, hey there everybody, Kaye here on my homestead and in Tennessee. If you're new here, I live on a little over 9 acres. And today is my 5th anniversary of landing here on this rocky hill in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. And so I am celebrating that by giving you a little tour of my sunroom. Now maybe this will inspire you to set up a little sunroom in your house if you have, or apartment if you have the space. You can even make a mini sunroom in a bay window, you know, or with grow lights, of course. But fortunately, the builders of this house put in this room, I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it was a porch and it got filled in, or maybe it was always like this, but the floor is brick. And that makes having plants in here ever so much better. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to give you a little tour of everything in this room. And if you have any questions, leave them below. And we're just going to take off and I'm going to tell you about the plants I have in here and all the other things. So stay tuned. Okay, we're going to start right by the French doors that open off of my living room. And the first thing I've got sitting here on a chair is my lemon, my Meyer lemon, which is in full bloom. And I wanted to just point out, I didn't clean it up because I want you to see what happens when you bring plants in for the winter. You're going to get leaf drop. Sometimes they drop down to the last leaf and you think it's dead and then it comes back. So I'm also getting petal drop, but I was able to move this plant out for a few days and back in at night to try to get these flowers pollinated. And I'm hoping to get some lemons. One cluster like this is probably just going to produce 1 lemon if I'm lucky. The blooms are just ready to drop all of their petals. But this smells, the closest thing you can think of is jasmine. It has a very powerful, beautiful, sweet scent. Okay, in here, this fabric was donated to me, given to me by my friend Linda Maloof Walter in Lubbock. She has a fabric company and she still had some of these pieces of fabric. And I told her I needed cushions. I had picked up this set of 2 rattan chairs and sofa. And she, actually they came with this, but I got rid of the cushions that came on them. And she had these cushions made from her cushion maker in Lubbock and sent them to me. I was going to pay for them and she said, no, they're a gift. So this is my housewarming gift. I have these beautiful cushions with this custom printed fabric made in England. It's just gorgeous. And right here, I didn't have this for a long time and I haven't talked about it at all, but this is a needlepoint that I brought from my mother's place, in her assisted living place. And she had made this, she made many, but she had made this one. And I thought, you know, I've got one little bit of space there and it looks great in here, so that's that. And then this is a, unfortunately I don't know the artist, but this is a painting on a panel. Some people think it's tapestry, but I have 2 of those that my brother, he was downsizing and he gave them to me. So that's one, and you'll see the other one on the other side. And I just love it. And it looks great with the, you know, the color that's going on in here. This, I love gifts that people make for me. And this was made by Kaye, one of my longtime fans. Haven't heard from her in a while. But this is a depiction of my longtime cat, Lyndon, who went to kitty heaven in last December, almost a year ago. And this was made by a school friend. These coasters, I just love them. And this is one of my mother's pieces of sculptural art that she used to make. She went through a phase and she made all of this sculptural art just out of whatever she found. This is one of the pieces. It's a sunflower, but it's made out of scrap metal and painted black. And this is a car that she had all these years. It was from my father's Chevrolet business. I guess it's a Chevrolet, I don't know. But she had it in her room and it wound up here. This is a book that Daryl recommended, The Hidden Messages in Water. I highly recommend anyone to read this for a deeper understanding of water. My dragon cactus, dragon fruit, yeah. This is my dragon cactus, one of them. And it was real long and gnarly and I cut off all the long pieces. I debated on just getting rid of them both because there's really no future in them here. They're never going to produce fruit. There's not enough heat. It's not the right climate. But I just couldn't do it, so they're here. And this is one of the garlic chives from the garlic chives of Sharon. And I keep just an inexpensive humidifier going. I think the plants appreciate it, especially in the winter because the heater, the heat vent down there just dries things out. This room was built with a brick floor, so that's why it's very convenient. Just for example, I was watering the olive trees. I bought 2 olive trees this year and I left them in pots because I wasn't sure they'd survive outside. They're supposed to, but you never know. And I watered them the other night thinking all this leaf drop, and there's quite a bit of leaf drop now on these, see? And I thought, oh, I forgot, I didn't water it enough, And so I watered it, it overflowed, and I came in here and I had to put towels down. And of course, unfortunately, I didn't just water with water, I watered with fish fertilizer, and so that water was all over this floor. So I'm telling you, it's really great to have a brick floor when you bring plants inside because there are going to be accidents, absolutely. This is the other olive, let's see, it's not doing, yeah, it's, this is just what happens. It's the season and also just the radical change coming inside. They just drop their leaves. Okay, I was back over here. Now I wanted to point out this is the angel begonia, and if anybody visited the late bloomer garden, they would get a cutting because it's a fantastic plant. I've got several cuttings of the pencil plant and the begonia in here rooting. I've already got one that's rooted and it needs a home, but I don't have room for it, so hoping I can give that away. That's the pencil plant I got from Lubbock from my friend Linda also. The angel begonia was also from Linda. I stayed there for a week when I made my trip across the country. This is an arrangement that came from my sister's funeral. And, it's just hard to get rid of things, or I find it is. This is my Kalamazoo lime, and I've hesitated harvesting it because I wanted to do this video, and I wanted you to see what it looks like when it's really loaded with fruit. They're just tiny little things with just a few drops of juice, which is very tart, extremely tart. I made a video about making marmalade from Kalamazoo limes, and I want to be sure you watch that because it's a great video and you'll really enjoy it and you'll learn a lot. In here I have Amaryllis. I had put all my Amaryllis pots out on the deck because they were just taking up space and they weren't blooming. They didn't bloom at all last year. I saw that poking up with 2 little sprouts and I thought, okay, bring it inside, it might bloom, let's see. So this is the aloe vera, and aloe vera is it's a real vital plant that you need to have in your plant medicine, but it's happiest inside in the window, it really is. Doesn't like direct sun and radical temperature changes. And then I've just got my cuttings back there. And this is a cutting that I took off of my caper plant, which I ordered this summer. It broke off and I thought, let me see if it'll root. And it did. So this is just a literally $5 thermometer, but it really gives you a nice sense of what the temperature and the humidity is. Even with the humidifier going, the humidity in here is only 40%. So that's kind of crazy, because in the garage where there's no humidifier, it's 60. So anyway, this is the kaffir lime or kefir lime, which is actually resides in the U.S. Botanical Garden, and it is known for cooking with its leaves. So this is wonderful at flavoring dishes, and they use the leaves in cooking more than they do the actual limes, which is a good thing because it's never produced a lime for me. But I've got a lot of new growth on it, and I did have some blooms, so I'm still hopeful. This is the other olive tree, and I'll just tell you, this is an albaquino. I think I said that right, albaquino. Wait, where's the name? Pretty sure it's called albaquino. And that's supposed to survive in zone 7. So we'll see if I can grow some olives next year. Back here is just one baby from the dragon fruit. It's just a newer branch, and it just looks really nice. You know, the older branches get kind of gnarly looking, and this one looks really nice. What I need to do is support it so that it might possibly develop fruit. This is the old man cactus, and I picked this up from my neighbor Dennis in Pacific Palisades when I first got to my neighborhood. He gave it to me, and it was just about this tall. So this would have been, you know, 20, at least 20 years ago anyway. And so it grows very slowly, but it's alive. And all that little fuzzy stuff can really stick you, so you got to be careful handling it. This is the other garlic chive in a pot. The others I have in ground, and this is just one mint I brought in, which looks pretty gnarly, but you know, I thought, well, let's try to save it. So over here we have the mother-in-law tongue. That is such an indestructible plant. So I do have it in the corner with the least amount of light. Speaking of light, I have just the lights from the circular fan, and I have grow bulbs in there. Actually, it looks like one of them is not a grow bulb, burned out. But that's all I do in addition to the windows. This is the holiday cactus. This was the mother. This was originally given to me by my neighbor and friend Zdena Pavlova, who lived across the street from me in Palisades, and her house was also destroyed. My former home was destroyed. And I created this baby. It's very easy to divide and make a new plant, and I created this baby, and they're both in bloom. This one started first. It was in the window. It's probably why. And this, during the summer, was over there. So it's gotten a later start, which I'm glad, because maybe, you know, through Christmas, this one will be blooming. These are the Peruvian chilies that I dried on a platter. And this is hotter, actually, than the orange Thai. So what I'll be doing is grinding these up and just putting them in a spice jar to use. And this is the one I made in the video, if you saw the video recently, when I was talking about going to a specialist. I was stringing these up. And you can see the ones that didn't quite get fully ripe out in the garden got more orange. The whole thing got more orange, if you look back at the video. I said I wasn't going to bring any wood in, but we had a string of about 3 nights that were very cold, and so I did. And then these are just 2 strings of long red cayenne that are ready to be ground, and I'll get around to that at some point. I've got a little bit of kindling here. I've got a piece of art here that goes on the wall. And what else? Let's see. Did I cover everything? yes, I was going to talk about my distiller, and I've already forgotten. Let's see, I got this from Pure Water, and I actually need to move my water into the kitchen and load it up again. But I love this distiller, and it is a great place to have it in here because, of course, it puts out steam when it's doing it, which is great for the plants, and heat. So I highly recommend having that, and also I highly recommend having a distiller because you never know if the power goes out. Can you really filter the water to where it's good enough to drink? That is always the big question. Oh, and that's the other panel I forgot to mention. This is the other panel that my brother gave me. So, and look at this parrot. It'd be much better if it was in a big foyer or something so you could see the whole thing, but I've got it crammed in here in this small space. But I just thought it's just kind of perfect for a sunroom with all those plants and flowers and parrot and everything. And that is a beautiful antique lamp, actually. When I first went to LA, there was an antique lamp store. We lived near Beverly Boulevard, and there was an antique lamp store, and I bought so many antique lamps. And I think this may be the only one that I still have. And that whole top is, well, it's so amazing because it's sort of a pale, you can see the color. Oh, let's see if I can turn it on. Oh yeah. So you see how old it is. So these lines have faded over the century, I guess. This thing is probably a century old, who knows? Maybe 80 years old. And of course, when I saw this turquoise, I just had to have it. So I've had that, well, I've had that for, let's see, 25, 30 years. About 30 years I've had it. And, you know, I just don't get rid of stuff. Okay, well, if you have any questions for me that I have, anything that I failed to mention, oh, I forgot to talk about this. This is an angel that my friend Denora gave me back in Palisades. She was my housekeeper for once a week housekeeper for, oh gosh, at least 15 years. We actually can't remember when she first came, but she found that somewhere and she gave it to me, and I had it in my bathroom bay window and absolutely love it. And also, someone gave me this for my garden, for Late Bloomer Garden 1.0, and this sat in Late Bloomer Garden 1.0, and so, you know, it's just a little bit of my first garden here in my second garden. I've had more plants in here in the past, and it gets kind of overwhelming. And so this year I had 3 fig trees that I planted outside in the orchard, and I hope they make it. And there's 2 more smaller ones in the garage. And the next video we'll go looking at the plants in the garage. I have about a fifth of the garage set up for plants with 2 long 4-foot grow lights, and they do survive, and the geraniums are continuing to bloom. They didn't do any kind of a petal drop or anything moving them inside. So we'll see that next. So I hope you subscribe, click the bell for notifications, scroll down and click all so you won't miss an episode, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.